Hey guys, we are back with another Soldier Hall Classic video. So some of you guys may wonder what the story is behind the Soldier Hall Classic logo. And today we have the founder of the event, Mark Petersen, here to tell us the story behind it.
So, anytime you do an event, one of the important things is the logo. It is kind of your representation to people about the what your event is. It's your trademark, and so the logo is actually how the event started. It's all tied together. And I went in the 1990s to Scotland on a vacation, and one of the things I hoped to do on that trip was I wanted to get a sheepdog and a herding dog. And I didn't know a lot about sheepdogs then, about what made a good sheepdog or anything like that. I was complete know-nothing. I knew nothing about it at all. But I went to their big event in Scotland, and as I watched the event and I saw a dog that I liked, when they came off the field, I'd go up and introduce myself, kind of a brash American, and I would shake their hand and I would say, "Hi there, I'm Mark Petersen," and tell them who I was and where I was from. And I would say, "I'm looking for a pup. Do you know of any pups?" Because I wanted to buy a puppy and bring a puppy home to America. And some people were just really gracious and kind, and everybody was polite, but some wanted to talk and chat, and some were in a hurry. But nobody really knew of any puppies. They just would say, a couple said, "Maybe I might know of something." And so, but before going, I had talked to a friend who knew about such things, and he had some advice and told me he had to set up some things for me. But right before I left, he said to me, I said, "Any last advice?" And he said, "Yeah, get a Wisp pup." And Wisp was a very famous dog at the time. He had won their big trial twice, which had only happened a few times in history. It was a big, handsome, rough collie, powerful dog, run by a man named Bobby DL in Scotland, a great handler. And when my friend said get a pup from that dog, he was making a joke. There was no way I was going to get a dog from that dog. That was a pie in the sky. It was not going to happen. But we both laughed, and I didn't give it another thought. But I did meet the man who owned Wisp. He was running a different dog. Wisp had retired. It was a great dog named Jim. I liked the dog. I went and did my thing. I introduced myself. I shook his hand, talked a little bit, asked about pups. He didn't really know of anything. But he said, here's my phone number. Why don't you call me and come visit me? And so I was like, great. Bobby DL invited me to his house. And so I called him on the phone and got directions to his house. And it was way in the country in northern Scotland and outside of Edinburgh. And you had to drive on a little tiny narrow road a long ways to get there. Just wound around, old Roman cart track. And when I finally got there, got out of the car, and up runs Wisp and barking and snarling, and about took my arm off, which I thought was just great. I'd almost been bit by a really famous dog. I thought that was wonderful, and a dog that I'd seen pictures of in magazines. And I proceeded to have just the most wonderful day talking about dogs, and went out on a hillside for a while and worked dogs with Bobby and learning about dogs. It was just a tremendous day. And I asked a couple of times again about puppies, and he kind of changed the subject. And after I'd done it a couple of times, I thought, well, I'm not going to bring him up again. This is too good a day. I don't need puppies to have this be one of just the best days of my whole life. I'm on a Scottish hillside with Bobby DL working sheepdogs. How great is that? And so we had I spent a long time there. Had some sandwiches for lunch, and it was getting late in the day, and it was getting dark, and I thought I'll never find my way home in the dark back to my hotel room in Edinburgh. So I said I have to go. And at that point, he said something to his wife, Sheila, and his accent was so thick. He had a terribly thick Scottish accent. I could barely understand him. Didn't quite get what he said. But all of a sudden, she walked out into the room from somewhere back in her house, and she walked out like this, and she had 6 3-day-old puppies in her hand. Little tiny puppies about that long, and put them on the floor in front of me. And there was one puppy of all that was bigger than all the rest. He was a tricolored puppy. That means he was black and white and brown, which I kind of was fond of at that point. And I looked at him and I said, I sure like that puppy right there. And this litter, the father of this litter was Wisp. They were all Wisp pups. And Bobby said, he said, you might get that puppy home and it won't be anything. And I said, well, he said, I'm from a family of artists, and my dad always taught me that if you're going to paint a painting, start out with good paint. I said, that puppy might not be a good painting, but it's good paint. And he laughed and said, yeah, it's probably good paint. And so we talked for a little bit, and long story short, 12 weeks later, when that little puppy had grown to a little bit older puppy, old enough to fly on an airplane, Bobby put that puppy on a plane, and he came to Utah, where he spent his life. His name was Gus, and when you were little, he was your friend. And he was a great dog, and he's the dog in the logo. And if there hadn't been a Gus, that hadn't happened, there wouldn't be a Soldier Hollow Classic. And that moment was responsible for all of this taking place that day. If I hadn't spent that day on that hillside with Bobby, and if he hadn't been so kind to sell me the Wisp pup that was a joke, when my friend said, get a Wisp pup, no way that I deserved to get a pup that good. And the other thing about that pup, his mother was a dog named Dot. And when I got that pup, Bobby said, I think his mom might be better than Wisp. And the next year, his mother, Dot, won Scottish Nationals. She was the Scottish National champion the next year. It's kind of a really well-known breed between those two dogs. They were both really great dogs. And so he was never a great trial dog because he had such a horrible handler. He had to suffer through having me as his handler, but he was a great dog. And he was a good sheepdog. He got everything I ever asked him to do done. He got it done. And that's the story of the logo and the story of how all this came to be.
So there we have it, folks. The story behind the logo with Mark Petersen. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more daily updates on the event. Also, go check out our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All the links will be on our channel page. Thank you for watching. This has been the Soldier Hollow Classic, and we are out. We'll see you guys in the next video.